Hello, it's Marty from Marty's Classic Cars. How you all doing? Sorry for the delay in the videos. We've had a bit of a rainy September and I was going to get on the job with doing the hubs and the disc on the Dodge, which was left to me by my late son, as you may know from a previous video. I find it difficult sometimes working on it because it's obviously very tentative and one thing or another, and it doesn't go away, this sort of thing. You have to learn with living with what's happened. But also the weather. We've had a very rainy September after what was a July and August, which was very dry with intermittent showers, but a very rainy September, so I've been able to get out here to actually do it. But hey ho, I've made a start. I've done the one side. I was going to film that, but it was broken up by visits to family and one thing and another, so that's all on there now, and I've just got to do I'll put a block of wood under it as well, give it a bit extra noise. See, a bit restricted for space. Track it up partially before I take off the hubcaps. Or hubcap. These are swinging to get off, out to get on. Use the weight of the car to hold the wheel. Loosen the nuts originally. So. Use the axle stand for safety. That's it. was thinking, I don't know whether I prefer having bolts to screw on the wheels or nuts. I suppose you get in the right time. If you had a puncture or something, putting nuts on bolts that I'm already doing, a bit easier to locate in the dark and everything else that happens. Hope it doesn't happen, has happened to me on occasions, but a lot of cars these days are using bolts through the or just the nuts on the end. I'll grease them. This one looks in not so good health as the other one was, which seems to want just go away a bit more for some reason. There's another clip on here. That's good out. Nice. Thing to do. Take the caliper off. With the old one, it was 10mm. I'll just show you. There are other videos on this before, but basically there are two bolts, one here and one further down, which screws the caliper to the fixing on the back, which come off at a push. Obviously it's going to be a two-handed operation, so that will undo the caliper and it should lift out with the caliper and the brake pads together. So I have to use two hands, if you can bear with me. I'm feeling a bit stubborn, I need to get a bit of leverage on, so that's better. Oh, as usual. So I have to do a plane up again. Better. Back here. One of the things I thought last time, the feed from the brake fluid line in the back, which is a 5/8 nut there, it's very stubborn to get off because he's on an instant feed with two washers and they're very tight, so I'll loosen that first because you don't have the leverage once it's off. Now what I've done, just unnipped the one at the back with the feed. It's very tight to get off, and if you lift the caliper out, you've got nothing to go against. Basically, it's so tight on. You have some leverage to get him off, so you want something to resist against it. Get long screwdriver, hopefully, pull this caliper out. Sure he's not going to be the easiest in the world. Right, we're going to do this a bit more. This one's free. There's the sliders at the back. Move him off. We'll see he's well on. Sorry about that. Take a bit of a break. As you can see, this one's been well rusted on. I know there's not very much pads under here. Let's see if we can run a bit more. Still on the back here. Doing this up a bit because he's leaking. Supporting. These pads are well versed for wear. Right, the next thing we have to do is take the hub off. And what you have here is a dust cover, then you have like a pin underneath for like a locking thing with a little shield, and then a big nut. That relieves the whole system out of here. So the first thing I need to do is see if I can move this one out. That's great. It's all greased up then. What you got there, just say, you have a locking pin, which is a split pin, which goes through the centre first. It's been well locked onto here, which is good. gently straighten them down. Top them up a bit, so as straight as you can. And see if he pulls out. What they've done is another way of doing it. Straighten them down. The other side the split pin was there. So what you got is a pin which basically is in two pits like that. You wrap it round the cover here to give it security. To get them out, you straighten them out and push them out through the top, so you can then hopefully pull them out. Keep making sure he's straight and the two pins are together, which helps. So you can see. Another idea I had was to use a pin, sort of encouraging moving the top, put it through the eyelet of the pin, see if you can get them moving. Just loosened off a bit. Most of it depends on how straight this is, really. Can be a bit stubborn. Not being very good, is he? Perhaps it's me. Straighten him out. Very tight. Bending more than he wants to. Tribulations of a home mechanic, eh? I've had one hell of a job with this split pin. I tried to preserve it because I haven't got another one. It's okay, but it was so stuck in there because it was so sharp, folded over the one side, it causes a bulb in the stem, which I had to straighten out. And then he was ever so stiff to get back in. So tight fit is what you want, yes. But when it comes to remove it, a bit more difficult, yeah. Hey ho, but where we are. That's the cover, which just comes off by hand. And we've got this nut, which is a 1 1/16, which usually aren't on very tight. There you go. Just to lift the wheel up. So we just take him off that way. Which I'll do now. On there, and then you have a washer with a tab on it that holds the bearing in. So you'll be ready to come off. Bear with me a second. Right, so I got the splint pin off. And what I did, it was a bit of a swine to come out. So what I did, I used a punch here with a very thin punch on it to punch it gently up the top to get it started off, and then to yank him from the top hole. If I can just show you. There he is there. You have this groove in there, it's got a hole down through there, which the split pin goes on to hold on the cover and the nut, so for safety reasons. Sometimes in cars they have a nut with a like a collar on it, and you just stake it. What you do, you just tap it with a punch into the groove. But sometimes they have a split pin on. Obviously this is a design which had the split pin. Bit of a pain in the bum to get rid of, but hey ho, it's one of these things. Home mechanics and everything. We won't be using the old bearings obviously, because we're putting on all new disc, all new bearings and new seals. So I should give us a bit of a clean up first. Every time I do a job on this vehicle, Shows other jobs to do, and likewise these track hood ends will be another job. Nothing I do. This, there's no grooves on here. I can feel no marks. Get rid of the old grease as much as possible. Debris come on here. Here we go. The old in with the new, as they say. Right. So I've got a new seal, front and rear bearings. A new hub. So the first thing I want to do is wipe the surface of the disc around. Because they put film around it. For storage purposes and transportation and so on. So you don't need now this one's already got the races in, so we need to grease up our shaft. So see, for a bit of lubrication. Put some grease somewhere. And people have various ways of doing this, but what you want to make sure is you do just all back here. Plenty of grease on here to start with. And then you want to fill the hub with grease too. Make sure it's packed out well, and then put it into your bearings. The important thing with greasing this, it's already got races in, so I don't need to you can get through quite a bit of grease, obviously, doing this. Make sure it's well full. Then you want to make sure you put your first bearing in, which is the rear one. Small on the front. These bearings come with a race. I won't be moving the race itself. It's only you do that if you're sort of using your existing hub, I suppose. You might take the original races out. These have got brand new races in anyway. There's various ways of doing this. The important thing is to make sure this thing gets packed with grease. Both inside the bearing, so you fill it up inside the rim as well as on the outside. Get well packed. You do that by pressing on the bearing, filling it through. Go around it several times. So what you have is a groove in the top. You can press the bearing and then squeeze in between. Some people have different methods of doing this. Make sure it goes through the outer lobes as well. Basically, it's to really be very liberal with it and get as much grease into it as you possibly can. That sits on the top there. Now, the thing we need to do is put our seal. What I do with the seal is fill in with grease as well on the inset and push them in. Now, there's several ways of doing this. You need to make sure it goes in flat. So you try and push them in as best you can. Or do use my block for that. And then hammer, as we do. There. flush all the way around. It might actually go in a little bit deeper than that, so I might check in with the pumps. Good. And you're ready to go. And basically this chorus goes over that edge over there. So it's quite straightforward. Yeah. Now what I should do, I suppose, before I do that, fill this other side with grease again before I put the other bearing in. The bearing ready. Same principle with the small bearing. Let's fill in with grease. Somewhere. One for wearing gloves, doing mechanic stuff like that, but something we do. I can't feel the nuts half the time. I just got used to doing it, but they say it's best to do it health and safety these days with some properties and oils and so on. I prepare this one with grease, down with rice, then squelch the grease inside the bearing as much as you can. Just press on the bearing a little bit inside, it comes out and you force the grease down the edge, as well as forcing it into the lobes on the outside. Basically smother it. You can use just general all-purpose grease for this. You can even use red rubber grease as well, but I wouldn't use copper slip or anything. Right, that's ready to go. On there. Grease on the inside of this one. Tuck him out. So as well. And put him on. Let's get grease on the disc like I've just done. It's not a very good idea. Put your bearing in, like so. That should have got it. So you just push the bearing in, make sure he's well seated in. You have plenty of grease beforehand and plenty of grease around the bearing itself. And what it leaves to do is just put your fittings back on in the reverse order you did them. So I'm just going to get those from around the corner. Yeah, that feels really good. Right. I've got room from a split pin to go in and a washer and so on. What I basically do with these is clean them up with the old grease. There is finger grease around this. Put some new grease on it. Got a key on it on the top. So it only goes on one way. And he flushes up like that to keep your bearing in place. There you are. And then we put a nut on. Now the nut has to be torqued up, or you can just go on finger tight actually. Just so you put it on so your wheel doesn't lock up, but you have to sort of bed the bearings in as well. Now sometimes when you have a front wheel bearing going or rear wheel bearing, what have you, they can be adjustable. Sometimes you have to have the bearing completely replaced. If you go to a garage to get it done, obviously be mindful what they're charging you for. So what I usually do is spin the bearing around. Bed it all in, all the grease in. Looks pretty good. Yeah. don't want it to do him too tight, whereas we want to. Like that. You think he backed off just a bit. And again. If you have them too tight, you will wear your bearings out more. So if you have them too loose, there'll be a bit more play in it. So that should be okay. I think they recommend about £20 or something, right? And you've got this peculiar thing you've got to do with this. Just try and adjust the nut slightly so you can get your split pin in through the keyway. That's it. So we've got a hole in the thing and to get your split pin in. And we just lower a split pin, which was a pain in the bum to get out. In the hole. Right, so I tapped the split pin in, well I said tapped. I had to keep straightening him out for a bit, but he was alright. And what you do, you have two tails at the bottom of the split pin. So you just do the one way and get them divided. Just missing my part first. This thing hasn't been the easiest. Yeah, one tail, bend it like so. And that's out. It's just basically to lock him in. That's basically as it works. As I say, sometimes you have a nut with a collar on, and then what you do, you tap part of the collar into this groove, into the top. That sometimes happens with more modern cars, or when I say more modern cars, even older cars actually, save using the split pin. I used to do that on my old Fiat, if I remember. If excuse me, it's off the front, my back and everything, so things aren't not as mobile as I should be. And obviously try to think young. With the dust cap on the top, basically take the old grease out, put a good blob of grease in. So with this job you can't sort of go without it, really. Put the fresh grease in the new cap. Smear some on from the outside in the rim, so it's easier to push on. Just make sure you don't get any on the surface of the disc, obviously. It just goes on with the tap. Job done. Okay, right. Now on the previous wheel, what I did, I made the mistake of putting the caliper off first, but I did not undo the inline feed for the brake fluid. Now that is incredibly tight, so when it was loose like you see it is here on the back, I had no resistance to go on it, so I had to attach him back to the bracket with the first two pins you saw I dismantled it with. Attach him to the bracket first to have some resistance against to undo him. Then it's basically a quick process of trying to get it onto the new caliper as quickly as you can before you fix it on. So I'm just going to get the new caliper, get them assembled up with the new discs, new pads in, and we can put them straight on. And with this, I'll put some on the top edge here, just to so the pads can line up against. Bear me 2 seconds once more. What's happened? I've assembled the caliper. The pads go in. You don't need to re-put grease on the back of them because they've got rubber backings on now to prevent them from slipping and so on. And these are centric pads and centric calipers, and centric discs actually as well, disc and hubs. So what I need to do is just centre them up on here. Now with the back thing, I put it on and changed it over very quickly. I managed to do that. They have to be very tight, obviously brake fluid and so on. Then you just center these 2 pads in. The one pad has got like 3 prongs which fits inside the piston, and they just clip in and push them well back, make sure the piston's well back. And this one slides up, and these 2 things fit in here, as you can see, and gives it a guide for that. So I just need to center them up a little bit now. What I'm going to do. That's where it needed, a bit of a tap. And then obviously you put your 2 bolts in there. These, the previous ones I took out, I did that with the 10mm. It may have been an imperial size, being American and everything, but I managed it with the 10mm. But the new ones are with an Allen key, a 7mm Allen key. So just a case of making sure they're really tight to go on. And that basically is how it's done. Then you just put your wheels back on, let the cars off the jack, off the axle stands I should say, and then we're sort of good to go. I will have to bleed the brakes, so I will probably do a gravity feed brake on that. I'm going to do it tomorrow morning now. I'll say why, because as I stand at this moment in time, the clouds are coming over once again, so it looks like rain's imminent at some stage or other. So I'll save rushing around and everything else as one does in these circumstances. I'll call it a day at that. My Saturda's played up as well. So, here's another good excuse. 63. I used to do this when I was 17 and absolutely loved it. 18. I had my Mini, I had my Ford Escort Mexico, I had my Alphas later on. I used to love doing work on my Fiats. I love working on my Fiats years ago. This one's been a bit of a challenge to me. It always has been, because sometimes I need to be in the right frame of mind to do it, because it was my sons who passed us, you understand. It's always a tricky one. It's something I have to live with. You don't get used to it, as I say. It's something you just learn to live with. I don't wish to go into my private life too much, but I'm not trying to make excuses or anything. But yeah, thank you all very much for watching. I'll just get this nipped up, get the wheels back on, go and have some tea. Okay, so bid you all very well, and I'll see you next time. Thank you very much.